Welcome to another episode of Wood Couture podcast. In today's show, we are having our friend Karin Krautgartner, a legend in the design industry and the future of the design business. Welcome to the show, Karin.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you, and we want to know all about you today. So be prepared for very tough questions. And the very first question is, where it all started? Where is Karin coming from?
Well, as my name maybe already tell, I'm Austrian. So I'm not German. I'm from Austria. That's where I was born, and that's where I grew up. My father is a blacksmith, actually, and that's where I think I've learned creative parts, where I've got my creativity from. So I grew up on the countryside. My parents never traveled, so they also had a petrol station. So they were bound to the house. They didn't want to move anywhere. And then when I was after my graduation, I moved to Vienna and I started to study. And I didn't study, I wanted to start graphic design, but that somehow didn't happen. Then I made a study for plastics engineering. So that was actually, was quite attractive in the beginning, but then I realized there's so much chemistry involved that I was like, no, this is absolutely nothing for me. And then somehow a friend of mine told me about industrial design. And at that point, I didn't have any idea what it was. And I think nobody knew what design was. Nobody really understood. I mean, you were a carpenter, or you would produce things, but you would not design. Well, why do you need to design things? So I started to study industrial design at the university in Vienna, University of Applied Arts. And that was they call it a master class. It's a bit of an old-fashioned system, I think. And I had actually Italian professor. There was Professor Paolo Piva. I don't know if you know him. Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed away already, but that was my teacher for around 5-6 years. And then I thought I need to do something more. So I kind of pushed myself to go abroad. I went to London first to do just a small workshop, but that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, okay, so there's much more out there. And I met a lot of people there, and I really got into design and everything. And eventually I went to Amsterdam to do an Erasmus program, a study exchange. And that's also when I met Marcel Wanders, and when I started working there. So this is a bit how I got into this whole, into the design. I got into Amsterdam, that's where I live now since 20 years. And that's also where I worked for 20 years. So it was quite a special time, I have to say. It was an amazing time. I've learned so much. I'm a product designer. I'm trained as a product designer, and I had no clue about interior design. Really, I just didn't know. So everything I've learned I learned from the clients, from the operators, telling us how things have to be done and things like that. So that was quite interesting, actually. And then after 20 years, I got approached to start my own studio. And that's what I did, because I thought, okay, I can, spend 20 more years at the office of Marcel Wanders, which would be great as well. But maybe there's something more, and maybe I need to challenge myself a little bit more. Maybe I need to get out there, and I want to do it on my own, kind of. I want to be the power girl. And then I started my own studio in Amsterdam, and it's called byKK. And that's where I am now. So that's how I kind of rolled into it. And maybe there was quite some luck involved, I guess, to get me there. But that's kind of how it happens.
So creativity and art, let's say it was in the family DNA. You say your father was a blacksmith, and obviously you went into product design. So my question to you is, did you go in this industry because you're influenced by the profession of your father, or was it a natural choice for you?
I think I always liked making things. Like I was the creator, doing things like, I don't know, I remember myself sitting in the kitchen and working with paper, drawing and doing stuff. And then, I just liked it. And I was also very often in the workshop of my father, where, there was just a lot of metal lying around and scrap material. And I remember at a certain time, my brother and me, we started our own company. I think we were like, I don't know, 15 or 12 or something. And we was a kind of a virtual company. So we started to weld clocks together out of just, bits and pieces. And it was just so much fun. And also my uncle was an artist, and I just loved doing that. And I thought, if I can make a profession out of this, create things, make things, it's just wonderful if you are allowed to do that. So that's the direction I wanted to go. And logically, somehow I thought graphic design was it. But then I did an exam, and then there was this guy sitting in front of me, and he was making amazing drawings and sketches of people and I don't know what. And I just put my pencil down. I was like, no, okay, this is it. I can't do that. This is maybe not it. So, yeah.
So what is the best advice that your father gave you when he knew that you went into this product design profession and, that you treasure nowadays?
Best advice? Well, he helped me a lot doing things and making things. That's definitely a cool thing. And he was just always, try it out, make it, do it, draw it up, and I'll help you. And so it was more like, go for it. And, just don't keep drawing things, but really make it also. Go to the workshop and, execute it kind of. And I think I can see that nowadays a lot as well, that there's so many designers out there, they are just drawing and they have so many ideas and it's all great. But the moment, if you don't do anything with it, if you don't make it, if you don't, take a hammer in your hand or a saw or a welding machine or whatever, you will never really experience the material and, how it is to produce something and have an object standing there. And that's the same that we also saw when we went to work with Italian companies, I don't know, even Capellini, The moment they have a prototype standing there in front of them, it's much more attractive. It's much more interesting for them than just to have a drawing and an idea. So I think that's always good to just execute things, produce things, make things.
So your early practical experience really helped you later on in life, deep inside the profession, and to understand more your relationship with materials.
Yeah, absolutely. And how things are made, and what's possible and what's not possible, and maybe you just try it out. And at a certain moment, I remember we had this huge, what is it called, a press. And we just put pieces of metal in there, and then we pressed it down, and the metal was just melting almost, and you had really interesting objects suddenly. So it's really a lot of fun. And also when I was working at Marcel's office in the beginning, we did so many experiments. We were working all the time with materials, just trying out everything, trying out different resins, for example, or I don't know, went to factories where we could experiment and, work with porcelain, for example, and use it in a different way than you would normally expect. And I think it's just very important to get this feeling for the material.
I mean, it's incredible. You say something very interesting, that at the very beginning of your employment with Marcel, and for those people that don't know, Marcel Wanders is an icon, in the design industry. The likes of Philip Stark and so forth. They are so. We're talking big names, and you worked for 14 years in this kind of environment.
20 years.
20 years. Wow. So even better, 20 years in this environment, which is incredible. But how is it like to work in an environment where, it's like playing for the best football team, the one that won all the trophies and they know that you are the Ronaldo of, the design industry. So how is it? What kind of environment is in these iconic studios?
Well, I mean, first of all, when I started, he was not that known even. I mean, he had done already the Knotted Chair. That was from 1996. And so that was the main icon. And he just started actually to work with Italian companies and so. And so it was a very small studio. I was almost the first employee that he had. He had one other girl who was more, doing also the business side of it. And it was just extremely inspiring because I worked one-to-one with him, right? It was a very friendly environment, and he was not, it didn't feel like he's my boss, and I have to look, I mean, of course I was looking up to him obviously, but it was a very, and that's maybe also a Dutch thing, it was just very personal and very friendly and very open working situation. And we just did things together. And it was very often that in the morning he comes to the studio, like, I have this great idea and I'm so enthusiastic about it, and let's do this now. And and then I don't know, the word enthusiasm fell, I think, every day 5 to 10 times. And that also makes you very enthusiastic, right? It makes you feel the power and the energy, and it's just really a lot of fun. And experimenting and doing things together. And I remember actually that in the beginning, because I had done a technical study as well in between, before I studied industrial design on the University of Applied Arts, I did a technical study like the plastic engineer. So I was actually really good in computer drawings, technical drawings. And he really needed that at that time. So, there was almost nobody who knew how to draw in a computer. I mean, when was that? In beginning of 1997. And so I was at the Rietveld Academy, and all the other design students, they had no clue how to make a technical drawing. So that was funny that, that kind of, I was really useful. I had, he really needed me doing that. And from that on it involved. And it's just really, really fun time. And we taught ourselves everything more or less. So from products, we knew how to design products, but how to do an interior was a different story. It was much more complex, obviously.
Wow, that's, I don't think there is many people that can say, hey, I was the first employee, and I built an icon. You built an icon. It's incredible. How difficult was to leave and become your own boss?
Oh, we were crying, both of us, very, very often. Yeah, it's very hard. It was really hard. It was, a decision I thought I had to make, and he really wanted to keep me. He had bigger plans and things, and it was a very sad moment. But I was also not sure if I made the right decision, right? How do you know what's going to come? So that's really, it's not easy, but now I think it was a good step, it was a good choice. And we are still in contact, so that's good.
How long did it take you to get fired up and say, yes, it's time now I'm going to quit?
Yeah, maybe more than half a year, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
What grown inside you that to make, it's a big decision, because it's like growing a child and let us see going to university and going to, become an adult, become mature. And
that's what I said. That's what I said to him. I said, I need to spread my wings and leave the nest. So that was a bit my, what I said. I have to do it. I have to go. It's too comfortable. It's, I'm in this family which I love, but I also need to stand on my own feet. So this was a little bit, what I said to him eventually. And he said, no, you don't have to.
Among the many good times, what's your most amazing memory of your 20 years of that? They say this sticks in my mind every time I think about it.
Actually, two things maybe. One was the very first time I met him, actually. And it was, so I just called the office and was like, can I do an internship? And they were like saying, of course it's possible. So I went there after I worked somewhere else actually at that time for an internship. I just went there And then, it immediately felt like we would know each other already since 10 years or something. You know, when you get this feeling with somebody like, oh yeah, you know, we don't need to talk a lot. We kind of know each other. And then I did this internship, and then I went back to Vienna to do my graduation. And then suddenly he called me and he said like, I have this project and I would like you to work for me, and you need a fax machine. I was like, fax machine? Okay, fine. I organized the fax machine. And then a few days later, he called me and he said, actually, I would like you to come to Amsterdam and work for me full time and I'll call you back in half an hour. It's like, oh, okay. So I had to, again, ask everybody, what shall I do? And eventually I decided to go to Amsterdam and work for Marcel. But that was, I don't know, such a typical, you know, he just says what he wants and, you know, passes it on to you, and then you have to do with it what you want to. But that sticks to my mind still. And then the second one was that there was, when I worked, I think for maybe 5 or 10 years, there was the Salone del Mobile in Milan. There was a big, I don't know, he got a prize, El Decoration Prize or something. And then he actually pulled me on stage and he thanked me in front of everybody for the work I've been doing. So that was very special to me, I have to say.
Wow, that's...
This appreciation, you know, to show that publicly was just, was worth a lot to me.
Priceless moment. Incredible. What about your favorite failure or mistake? Say, you know what, I did that and I've learned from it.
I've probably done a lot of mistakes and failures. I guess biggest one. Oh, that's a hard question because there's so many. It's not like, let me think.
Can be anything, but something that really stick in your mind.
Yeah, it's maybe more in the sense of that a client kind of, you know, wants something really quickly and fast, and they urge you to do this, and then you feel like you can't complete it in time or whatsoever. And then I remember Marcel kept saying, you know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Just go back to them and tell them we'll deliver 2 days later and it will be fine. And so for me, it was a big failure at that time, but then he kind of made it look positive again. You know, he was like, you know, the world's not gonna end if you don't deliver this, and deliver it 2 days later and will be better and the client will be more happy. So yeah, maybe that's something that I can say about failures.
So better later than never, I think. There was
just talk to the client. I mean, it's yes, a lot of clients are very pushy and they want to have the work done now and not tomorrow, but you should, you know, you do what you're giving everything you can give, but sometimes you just need a little bit more time, and then they will be happy as well.
If you look at the very first year of your permanence at Marcel, and then the last few years, now you're going from a studio to an iconic studio. You know, are the client expectation different from the beginning to where you end up in the last 3 years, considering that it is Marcel Wanders, you know, it is an iconic studio? Are client, when they approach studio like Marcel, expecting the impossible to be possible?
Yeah, well, look, in the end, in the last years, you have already done a lot of work. You have a really full body of work, right, that you've created for all these years. So the clients, yes, they're expecting a lot. They're expecting a typical Marcel Wanders. So they want to have all the elements that is a bit like, you know, Philippe Starck, you expect certain design language or objects that he's using, and this is something that clients definitely expect. So they don't even, because we were trying one time to be a bit more minimalistic, let's say, and the clients didn't want that. they really wanted to have what Marcel's known for it, right? So in the beginning, obviously that wasn't, was a bit more surprise involved, and we were just looking for the direction we had to go. But in the end, in the last years, obviously, there's so many products there, so many ideas, so many things that have been done already. They want something in that direction. So yeah. And they still want to be surprised as well.
And how is Karin's approach to jobs have changed from when you started for when the last few years? How have you seen your personal evolution in, obviously you grew up in the environment, you grew up in the extraordinary design and ideas, have you seen yourself changing the way you're approaching things?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, we've also, you learn, I mean, it's 20 years. In the beginning, I probably knew nothing. And, there was also, it was all very conceptual. I don't know what. And in the end, I mean, you have done so many products already. We've been analyzing world history, and we've done so much with patterns, and we have in general looked at traditions. We have looked into countries. We had so many departments that were there suddenly. We had graphic design, we had branding, we had 3D visualization, we had we had a huge workshop, we had personal edition. So there was so much also to take from, which wasn't there in the beginning. So in a way, it got sometimes a bit easier because, there was also a company called Moy where, we designed furniture for, but we also always specified furniture from Moy for the project. But my approach also definitely, I mean, I've just learned a lot during the time, I think, how to approach things, and not just to see an interior, not just to see the elements, because that's how we started. I was like, okay, I'm a product designer, so I'm first looking at the chair and at the lamp and at the carpet maybe, and then I make an interior out of it. And then in the end, I think it was just much more of a holistic, we saw that much more holistic. So we really looked more into the architecture, and we made things more architectural. We integrated the elements into a whole. We made sceneries. We made, it's more like a stage that, performing stage that you make. So it's definitely a different approach.
Many people right now, they stay in a job 2 years. I mean, you stay 20, obviously huge chemistry as you describe it, when you meet somebody and then, but what did you do to keep yourself motivated to stay that long in an organization?
I think I always, I think it was the fact that there was always a project, and a new project was always different. So it was never the same. It was always just a different approach or a different country, or, and then you also expect more, and more, and better how to do it. And then suddenly you're designing a palace for a member of the royal family and in the Middle East, and that's something you haven't done before. And then there's the next project, and it's even bigger or even more special, or and that kind of keeps you alive and keeps you wanting to be there and to be part of it. And then there was also one fact that at Marcel's there were so many foreigners. So we were, we had lunches together. So we had a chef that were cooking for us. And we had a boat. So we were going with the boat on the Amsterdam canals. And we bought that boat so that the foreigners who are all by themselves here in Amsterdam, they don't have a family like myself. And then you can invite your people, you can invite your friends on the boat, and you have this nice community. And we had a lot of parties, and so there was this family thing was really very big. And every year also we made a family portrait. So this was more or less was a present for Marcel for Christmas every time, and we kind of dressed up and made a beautiful beautiful portrait. And it was, in the beginning, was maybe 10 people. And then at a certain moment, there were like 60 people on the photograph. And they were all maybe, I don't know, dressed like the Dutch people from the Golden Age. So relating to the Rijksboek that he was making at the time. And so it always related to the project we were doing. So yeah, that's just fun. And that keeps people wanting to stay in such a place.
Were you involved in recruiting people for the company as well?
I was interviewing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's extraordinary the story you're telling, because, I see it like you guys created a worldwide community of extraordinary design. Very, it's beyond compare. You can't compare Marcel design. As you're saying, they expect something. I define it crazy because I'm not a designer, but unique. But what do you look for in a new candidate that come forward? What quality would you be looking at and say, yeah, this guy fits within these organizations, even on your own now?
It's mainly the thing, you have to fit. I think there are brilliant designers out there, and they just might not fit into the family because maybe they are a little bit too stubborn and they want to do their own thing, and they are not, then because you need to learn the values, you need to learn the design language. You need to really feel something for it in order to be able to work on a project like this. And if we had a few people, they were really very good designers, and they're also now out there really big, but they were just too much in their own world. And I think that's the main thing. Somebody needs to fit into the studio, into the family. And then of course you need certain qualities, that's for sure, but I think it's mainly that you need to, there needs to be some connection. Otherwise I wouldn't have stayed that long either.
It's amazing how, and now you are a businesswoman, because now you have your own studio, byKK. And so, like 20 years ago when you started, you said, I was trained as a product designer. And then I learned from clients and everybody, and Marcel as a mentor. So now, how are you undertaking the role of businesswoman? What part excites you, or what part don't you, about being a businesswoman now, a business owner?
Yeah, it's a hard one, to be honest. I never liked the business part, and I do appreciate it more at the moment, obviously, because I have to, shuffle with numbers and things like that. It still doesn't excite me too much, I have to say. So if I can have somebody who's doing that part of the job, that is probably better. But it's also good to learn it, to understand how things work and how you can make money and how to work efficiently, because now that is a big thing. I need to have it's a few people now, and if you have a job and it has to be done in a certain amount of time, then you need to organize it really well. And so I think the efficiency issue is still a bit of a problem, but I can also see that, there are so many ways to overcome that, and I'm doing my best now to solve that, to get things done and do it in a smart way, let's say.
So being a businesswoman, does that distract you from your creativity, design, and so forth, or are you able to,
I have to separate it. I think I just separate it, that I say, okay, now I do all the business part, and I call my accountant and I ask all the questions I can ask. And it's just a separate part. I can't mix it. I can't, do everything at the same time, obviously. But I think the moment I set it apart, I separate it from my creative brain, it's fine.
So talking about byKK, now, what's your philosophy? Where would you like to see KK in 10 years?
Ooh. Well, I'm now getting slowly into lifestyle hospitality, which I'm very, very happy with. And this is really my dream. So I really definitely want to go in that direction. Done a few other projects before, which I realized are just not so much my spirit or my, where I wanna go and where my passion is. So yeah, I would love to, design the Mondrians in the world and so on in 10 years and have a bigger studio. But I also necessarily don't want a studio of too many people, because I just like the idea to have it lean and mean and have a real tight team of good people.
Do you think that having a contained size studio will help you in deliver also the quality and the type of design you intend to deliver?
Well, it depends. Now, as I'm working together with a company in Singapore, I have the opportunity to outsource the work, to outsource technical drawings, things like that. So my dream would be that I have in Amsterdam, I have the designers, and I have the team that is really close to me, and where I really want to be involved. I want to stay involved, that's for sure. And then there's an external team that maybe does more the drawings and the technical part of it. So I think like this, you can maintain a small studio.
You sound like Amsterdam is a magnet for you. It sounds like you love Amsterdam. What is that keeps you in Amsterdam rather than saying, okay, I go KK New York?
Well, I studied in Vienna, and Vienna for me was always a bit of a gray city, and that was at that time true. Probably now not so much anymore. I appreciate much more when I go there now. But Amsterdam just had everything I wanted. It's smaller. It has, the center is very romantic, and it has canals, and it has the trees and nature and small houses, and yeah, it's more a mixture of this city and village where I come from. So it's a bit more approachable, and there is so much happening in the city. There's a lot of events, and there's always something going on, and you just take your bicycle and go from one place to the other. And I just wouldn't want to have to take the car every time I want to go somewhere. So it's very fast paced, and there's also a lot of creative people here. And not only Amsterdam or whole Netherlands, I think there's a lot happening in general. And I just like that. I think it's very approachable, very open, nice.
Do you have a daily routine that you stick to it? Something that you do unusual?
Well, I did, and that was my whole Wim Hof experience. So I don't know if you know the guy. He's a famous Dutch, what is he? Crazy guy.
Right.
No, he came up with he's called the Iceman as well. And what he's doing is he's doing a cold water therapy. So when I was really stressed kind of last year, and I couldn't kind of, my head was spinning, and I was really stressed, and I was like, okay, I need to get out of this. So I started to go into the ice cold water, and I did that every morning around 7 with a group of people actually here in the neighborhood. And just went in there. And even in winter now, when it was minus I don't know what outside, there was ice in the water. We had to move it away in order to get in. And then you just go into the water, and you're there for around 2 to 3 minutes, and you're totally quiet, and you have to breathe, and you have to let everything go, and it totally changes it's like fuck. Changes your thinking, and your stress level is gone. And I did that for quite a long time till Corona hit me actually. That was quite amazing. And he's doing also these breathing exercises that I'm still doing in the morning actually.
I wanted to ask you, a lot of industry, they are progressing quite aggressively the agenda of gender equality. And how do you feel about the design industry in general? Have they addressed this gender equality matter in a proper way, or what do you think?
It's a bit a hard one, I think. I mean, I think there's a lot of women out there now at the moment, which are doing really well. And look, it's mainly the higher positions, I think, where there's the men. The men are still on top, let's say. And I think that just will be hard to change also, because women just think very differently, and they are the mothers and they have the family and they have a broader way of thinking, and there are many things important for them. And for men, it's like really this highway, they have this one goal and that's what they go for. And that very often makes it easier for a man to be in a top position. But if I look around, even here in the Netherlands, there's so many design studios where there are only women, for example. And actually I remember that Marcel, in the beginning, I think the first 5 years, he had only women employed. There was no man whatsoever. And he always said that women were more creative, and he could work more easily with women. And
That's incredible. Yeah. What about sustainability? Obviously, you live in Holland. There is, these guys are the forefront. But is the design industry catching up with the sustainability and the environment?
They have to, right?
Right.
They have to. Well, what I can see in the hospitality industry is that, everybody is doing as much as they have to do. But it depends from operator to owner, and wherever the project is situated. It's a hard one, to be honest.
It's quite interesting because in previous interviews in other podcasts, people in the interior design industry, I was kind of shocked. They told me, hey, in the last 6 years, I never had a request to incorporate sustainability in the design.
Yeah.
Was your experience too?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I remember that a few years ago we had a project, and I wanted to know more about sustainability and what they are doing for it. Even in operations, okay, you don't need to wash your towels every day. You don't need to change the bed linens. It's also very service related. And I was really ashamed to ask, in a way, because it was kind of like, that's not, let's not talk about this. So, it's very unapproachable somehow. I think there are a lot of hotels that have that, and they really, this is what they do. They are sustainable. But there's also mainly the bigger chains, I think, that are just a bit slow with all that. They do what they have to do, from an architectural standpoint, or from the materials, or from the toilets they're using. But unfortunately, it's not too common.
So, interesting is, it's quite interesting because you see, lifestyle is a big topic now, and everybody is, everybody going in that directions, but it's very challenging to define and challenging to put together. And even from a branding point of view, is would ever be, kind of, something that remind you, that is so and so brand, and also from a client's point of view, my question to you is this one, because lifestyle is, means everything and means nothing. Do you think people are afraid of having a lifestyle hotel because of, could be a cost? Do you think the developers, owners, they want to develop new hotel, are afraid in undertaking on a lifestyle hotel brand as opposed to an established brand, cookie cutters that we know, because they may think, you're going to cost me a fortune.
Yeah, because they think everything's custom made and special. And well, I don't know, but I think that even if it's a lifestyle hotel, you can be smart in how you do it. I think actually it's the opposite. A lot of lifestyle hotels are not necessarily about luxury or about expensive fit outs. It's more about the objects that are in there and the whole look and feel and the whole experience that you have there. Wow. It's a bit more loose. It's more casual, I would say. It's yeah, it's connecting all, and that's also what you have in the others. Maybe there's one space where you do everything, where you check in, where you eat your breakfast, where you have your dining, and where in the end it transforms into a bar, for example. So maybe that's what lifestyle is,
What emotions would you associate with lifestyle hotels?
Emotion, happiness, I don't know, having fun, living your life, going easy, taking it easy.
Do you think the lifestyle is connected to luxury?
No, not at all, I think. I mean, it's a different kind of luxury. Maybe it's maybe it's more the barefoot luxury, as I would call it. Maybe it's more, it's having access to beautiful design and having access to art and yeah, being, I don't know, living a life that maybe somebody who is a bit more rich has, or but it's not necessarily a more expensive room or expensive travel you're gonna have.
It's like giving an opportunity to people, if I understand correct what you're saying. As you say, it's an affordable luxury.
I think so, yeah.
Let me ask you one question, because although I think you're very creative, you're an artist, and there is the typical answer I get from everybody in the design industry is, I create beautiful design, particularly lifestyle, and then the owners start talking about value engineering. What's your feeling when you hear that word?
Oh my God. Well, you hear it all the time, right? And you already expect it in the beginning, so it's nothing new. I don't mind it too much, because I think there are so many ways to execute a product and do it in a smart way. So in a way, it's kind of it's a nice exercise, because you have to think twice, or you have to come up with a smart solution. So yeah, it's something that you expect, and it's not always possible to do, or not always a good thing. And of course, if you wanna, I don't know, you design an oak table or panels for a wall, and then eventually it's done in I don't know, MDF with a plastic layer on top and a wood print, okay, then I'm really getting angry, because then I think this is totally not the purpose. Then let's just do something else. But just very often there are so many materials that can be replaced by something a little bit cheaper, which is fine. So you really need to, you need to measure and see how you still achieve what you would like to achieve. And it's also, we once worked with, he was actually the main architect of the city of Amsterdam, and he just told us, because there was also a lot of value engineering going on, and there was not enough money, and I don't know what, we had to do this VIP room for the World Expo in Hanover. And then he said, just take out whatever you can take out, and if your design is still maintained, then it's fine. You don't need to worry about every little detail or every little object that's in there, as long as the main design idea and the main concept is still kept alive. So I think it's just how you approach it.
To what extent, how far would you go in compromising the design to please the client?
Well, till I think when the main message is gone, when the concept is not recognizable anymore, then it's a failure. Then it's a failure. So yeah, I wouldn't go further than that.
So do you think your early experience when you were playing or you were experimenting rather than playing in your father's workshop as a blacksmith, helping you in avoiding that kind of situation?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think that I know quite a lot about the technical part of it, let's say. So yeah, maybe that could be. And also I think the studies that I did, where it was more more technical drafting, and then you just know how things, what makes sense and what doesn't, and how things are built.
If we're coming towards the end of our chat, but since you are very creative, if I put a massive, giant white billboard on top of Burj Khalifa, that you can see it far away, what message would you write on that?
Go for it. I would say go for it. Follow your dreams.
So what's your dream?
Oh, there are too many. Eventually established my company and have my own tight team and be able to, or have my tight team and be able to do the most amazing lifestyle hotels in the world.
Wow, so you want to leave a legacy of designing the best lifestyle hotels, if I understand
Well,
correctly.
I would like to.
That is, I look forward to that actually, because I think lifestyle is here to stay. One final question, and I wanted to ask you is, we living in a different world now, and in a sense that a lot of rethinking, a lot of think again, how we do things, and particularly in hospitality, before COVID, a lot of discussions about co-working, co-living, co-socializing, in order, and during COVID and even now, everybody talk about social distancing. So before they wanted to bring us together, now they want to tear us apart. How is your approach to project now on the public spaces, to address, what makes sense?
I mean, I've been working now a lot in China as well, and the approach there is the same as it used to be, funny enough. And so I'm just starting now working in new projects. I don't really necessarily see requirements from the operators. So somehow that's, I don't know. I mean, in a way, I think like we're just gonna go back to normal. Maybe that's a little bit too positive thinking, but I think, I mean, I can already see, look, now they are saying that the summer is going to be crazy. People start traveling again. Everybody thought it will be more quiet and people will not travel so much, and people, they will rather stay at home than going out. But you realize now that that's totally not the case. People want to gather again, and they want to be together, and they want to have parties and things. So maybe in the public area for hotel, it's not going to even change that much. That's what I feel like. And then, yes, of course, co-working and, working from home, that's definitely going to be something that people will want to do because they like it. And because it's also nice to be at home and to be with your family once in a while, right? But for hotel, I haven't really seen a difference at the moment, which is maybe a bit surprising. But maybe it's also because people think it's, going back to normal, and we're just gonna hug each other again and shake our hands again, which I hope it will happen.
I think they're reading your messages. Say, just go for it. Karin, thank you very much for joining our show, and we hope to see you soon.
All right, thank you very much. It was nice talking to you.